Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to take a look at Ahoy, which is published by Leader Games. This is a 2 to 4 player game where you're going to take on a asymmetric faction and try to get 30 fame by the end of the game. Now, this is going to be from Leader Games, so it's going to be, if you're familiar with Root or Vast, this is going to be the same sort of like asymmetric style game. Now, this game here is going to be a lot easier to get into than, say, Root or Vast. We'll get into that in a little bit. But for now, let's go ahead down the table here. I'm going to show you general idea how to play Ahoy, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts. All right, so this is Ahoy by Leader Games. In the game of Ahoy, you're going to be playing to gain 30 fame by the end of the game here and have the most fame at the end. Now, you can play as either the Bluefin Squadron or the Mollusk Union, and if you're playing 3 to 4 players, you could also play as the Smugglers. The game is really easy to set up. You're going to give the first player the Bluefin Squadron. If there's going to be 3 or 4 players, you'll give the player to the left the Smuggler. Then you'll give the third player, or second player, if you're only playing two-player game, the Mollusk Union, and if you're playing 4 players, the other Smuggler will be the 4th player. And you're going to give the Bluefin Squadron 5 dice here to start the game. They're also going to get the first player card, and they're going to get a patrol card and a stronghold card. They're going to get their stronghold markers and their patrol markers. They'll also get an Ahoy pocket guide. Everybody's going to get that. They're going to gain a coin. Everyone will gain a coin. And when we place out these tiles at the beginning of the game, you have to place them out so the islands are the farthest away. But the Bluefin Squadron gets to place out their ship and their shark first, which is a patrol. And they'll place it wherever they want. Then the Mollusk Union gets to place out their ship and 2 comrade tokens on the adjacent island. The Smugglers, in turn order, get to place out their ships on any place that isn't an island. The Smugglers themselves are going to gain 4 dice. They'll have these pledge tokens, one for both the Bluefin and one for the Mollusk Union. They'll gain a coin, and then they're going to be 2 cubes. They'll put the black cube on the bottom in the middle and the white cube on top. And they're going to use those for when they gain their rewards in the game. Then you're going to have the Mollusk Union, which is going to have its 4 dice. You're going to get 2 additional ships you'll set out, but you'll have your capital ship and your comrade here. You're going to start out with 6 comrades. You'll put the rest in reserve. You're going to go ahead and shuffle their special deck here and deal out 2 cards to them. In addition to that, you'll put out the fame track, and you'll put each of the players on 0 there. You'll put the coins out, the damage tokens, the blue dice and the white dice out, available for everyone to reach. You'll set up the other Smuggler the same way as this Smuggler, and you'll have your little deck of tiles here, and you'll have your market deck. You'll shuffle that up and place 3 out, and that's all you have to do to set up the game. Now, how to play the game? Well, we're going to be playing through rounds here, and each round, each player is going to, or each turn, each player is going to set 2 of their dice out on their board. At the beginning of the round, everyone is going to roll the dice, and these are the dice numbers that they can use throughout the game, or the round itself, I mean. So if the Bluefin Squadron would go first, they have these dice available. They're going to take 2 dice, and they're going to place them on their board to do actions. Now, there's a lot of actions that are similar with all the other players. So unlike Root, where you're trying to get to a certain number of points to win the game, but everyone has a different way of doing it, in this game, everyone has a similar way of doing their things, but they might have a different way of scoring points, but not so wildly different. So I can take these dice and I can put any die here I want, and this will let me sail. And if I sail, I can do several different things. So I can sail and explore. So if I sail and explore, I get to place out a tile here, and I can place it anywhere I want it along where I'm exploring, except for the islands can't touch. If I go to a harbor here, I'll get to be able to repair 2 spots, but also the Bluefin Squadron gets to put out a patrol every time it ends its movement. If you end in one of these garbage dumps here, you're going to take 1 damage. You'll get to pick where you want that to go. And if I go to an island, you can do various different things at the island. You can recruit basically by getting one that matches the symbol of the island. In this case, none of them do, but if it did, it could. And paying the cost down on the bottom if there is one. Most of the time, it's a coin. And then you can recruit that unit to your board here, and I give myself a little bit more room. This would go on the top here. You can have any number of recruits, and they'll give you special abilities throughout the game to help you out. The other thing that can happen is instead I can move to a spot with another ship. Now, also I'll mention when you do put out the tile, you'll put out one of the blue dies on it there. That's going to determine how many points you get when you control a region. But anyhow, if you move to a location with another ship, if anyone has cannons loaded, you're going to fight, which we'll go over in a little bit. But since no one has any cannons loaded right now, we don't fight. So I would have moved there and I put a patrol there if I decided to do that. And that's if I decide to dock one of these dice in the sail location. The other thing you can do is you can do tailwinds. Everybody has this ability for the tailwinds. And what that is if you put a die here that matches a tailwind location, which has those little dice there and a number on it, you can teleport to that location. Real quick aside here, all the different types of board types are shown on here. So if you have any questions in the game, you can just look at the back of your little player aid here. But in general, fogs prevent battle, so you don't have to do any, you can't battle at a fog area. You'll gain a damage if you go to a junk place, and the harbors will let you repair, the islands that you recruit, or if you're a smuggler, you can do a smuggle or delivery action. These little strong currents move you forward one, so you actually get an extra space. So instead of 1 to 2, you can get 2 to 3 movement if you wanted, or 1 to 3. You also have those tailwind locations, like I said, that have the number on here, but you also can have some locations with coins. If you stop at a location with coins, you gain those coins, which is pretty darn cool. All right, so that was the sail and tailwinds. You can also arm your cannons. So if I arm my cannons, if I moved into here, whether they're armed or not, someone is armed, so we do a battle. When you do a battle, you're going to reduce your cannons down to the level you want. So let's say I'm going down to 1, so I had 5 on there. Then each player is going to roll a white die, and you're going to add those numbers together. So let's say I rolled a 3, plus 5 is 8. They roll their single die, they roll a 1, I win. The attacker also wins ties. On your board itself, which is slightly different per player here, you get your battle victory. So this is for Bluefin, but for this guy here, you can deal 1 damage and steal 1 gold, deal 2 damage. You can, if it's a mollusk ship, deal 1 damage and remove 1 comrade from the island in that region's battle, but each one's different. If I deal damage to a person's ship here, I can take these little tokens here and I can place them on their board, blocking off those areas. And they have to repair them away, which they can do at a harbor, or they can do the repair action. The repair action can never be damaged. So keep that in mind. One thing to mention here, the smuggler board though, for its battle rewards is pretty different, so I just want to highlight them real quick. When they deal 1 damage, they can deal 1 damage and move 2 spaces now, or they can deal 1 damage and gain a reward. Anytime the Mollusk Union gains a reward, they can take this white marker and place it adjacent anywhere they want, and gain the thing. Like here, I could gain a fame, I can add a tile to the map, and on future turns, I can never go back where this black marker is. I can only go forward in one of the directions, and then this thing follows me. So this just prevents me from doing the previous action twice. So that's pretty cool about the smuggler itself. Now the other action everyone can do, I mentioned, is repair. And each of these boards is a little different. So the Bluefin Squadron requires a roll of 2, but everyone else requires an even die to be able to repair. And that'll let you remove 2 damage from anywhere on there. Now that's going to be the basic actions you can take throughout the game here. And again, you're going to be taking 2 actions here. And you're going to keep on going until people run out of actions. Now the Bluefin Squadron, we'll start with them, have some unique abilities. One is they're going to gain an extra action. So after everyone's done taking their 2 actions, they have 1 action left they get to use. They're going to also be able to do an action called Bombard, which is going to remove all comrades from the island in which the flagship is. So you always have to watch out for the Bluefin Squadron's flagship if you're the Mollusk Union, because they can wipe out all your comrades that you have at the different locations here when their flagship is there. They can deploy, place a patrol in your flagship space or adjacent to it. And then remember, every time they anchor or when they go to their final location here, they also deploy a patrol. They can do order, move up to 4 different patrols, each 1 space. And they can switch 2 patrols here for a fortress. And when they put the fortress here, the fortress has some unique abilities to it. So the fortress here is always considered armed here, so it's always considered having its cannons loaded, so you'll always have to battle with this thing if you get into its area here. And it also prevents anybody from being able to use the islands for delivery of cargo. You can't recruit crew here or any of that fun stuff. So this here is going to, and it also counts for the area control itself. And you have this little card here that shows you that. So this you dominate the island, and when damaged, return it to the supply instead of placing damage on here. So this can only take 1 damage. So other people can blow up your stronghold, but your stronghold always has cannons armed. So it's always going to add to your roll, which can make this thing a little deadly here. And you get 3 of them in the game here. Patrols themselves here, patrols are also considered cannons to have loaded, and you can battle these patrols, and when you do damage to them, they get removed and placed back into the Bluefin supply. And like I said, at the end of the turn, you can turn 2 patrols into a stronghold if they're at an island here. But basically, that's what the Bluefin Squadron gets for special abilities here. The Mollusk Union, as you notice, got these comrades, and they start with 6 comrades at the game here, and they can place these comrades out multiple different ways. When they sail, they can place 2 comrades on an island or gain 2 ready comrades. When they do assemble here, they can place up to 4 comrades on the island in your flagship region, which is really cool too. And if your flagship is at an island, gain 4 ready comrades here too. So you also have this rally action. And you have Inspire here, place 1 comrade on an island up to 4 different islands, which is really cool. So basically with these guys, you're going to be trying to place out your comrades all over the board to help with your area control. Now, you're going to, for your battle victory, you're going to damage 1 or steal 1 gold, damage 1 and place 1 comrade on the island in the region of the battle. So those are 2 different things you get to do for it. And we're going to go over end of round stuff for these 2 guys in a second, but that's some of the asymmetric stuff that you get with the Mollusk Union. Now the smugglers are all the same. You have this die board here that you can move around for the rewards like I showed, so that's what you're going to get for the battle actions here. You're going to be able to deal 1 damage and move 2 spaces, deal 1 damage and gain a reward. Those are 2 different things you can do. But you also have these other options like negotiate. While your flagship is at an island, recruit a crew, ignoring the cost, and suit. You may recruit 1 or more crew if you remove 1 comrade from the island, which is pretty cool. You have the normal repair on here. You have full sail, move your flagship a number of spaces from 1 up to the value of dice. You roll a die to move even faster here. But you're going to have 2 special actions for the smuggler. You're going to be able to smuggle goods. And the way that it's going to work is you're going to, when you're at an island here, if there's a card out that matches it, you're going to be able to get the goods here and need to take it to the island that matches the symbol here. So you're going to deliver the furs to here if you can gain the card. Now you don't pay anything for these cards. I like other people that go to island here, they can recruit. When other people take their ship to the island and recruit, which you can do too if you wanted to recruit, they have to match the symbol of the island, and then they pay the gold cost, and then they can put a crew member on the top here, and then this gives you an ability for the rest of the game. But when you're smuggling, you're going to look at the picture of the island. So let's say we're up here, and I get to place this on the bottom here, and this is a good that I get to smuggle. Now when I get to a location where I can deliver it, so I'm at one that matches a symbol here, so I'm going to have to explore to find that, I can deliver this. When I deliver this, I'll gain a fame, and then I can get a reward here, and I'll just move this die here, cube here, to gain that reward. But I can also put a pledge token on there. If I put a pledge token on there, what I'm saying is at the end of the game, I'm banking that they're going to, whichever one I pick is going to control islands with that symbol on it in that region, so I can gain extra fame at the end of the game. And that's basically how the smugglers work, and how the Mollusk Union and the Bluefin Squadron work. Now, at the end of each round here, we're going to check for area control for both the Mollusk Union and the Bluefin Squadron. Then we're going to see if anyone's got over 30 fame and end the game. Now, for the Bluefin Squadron, you're going to look at these things for control here. Each of your patrol is worth 1 control, each stronghold is worth 2 control, and each flagship is worth 2 control. You're going to add them up, and whoever has the most is going to gain fame equal to that die level. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is when smugglers deliver goods to an area to gain their fame, they're also going to enrich the area and move this die up. So if I did that here, this would have gone to a 2, and at the end of this round, the Mollusk Union would have controlled that, so they gain 2 fame. And since the Bluefin Squadron controls this area, they gain 1 fame. Now, for the Mollusk Union itself, they gain 1 per comrade on the island, and they get 1 per any of the ships they have. Now, another neat thing with the Mollusk Union is they have these cards that they can use. And they're going to gain 2 cards each round. And they can use these cards to do all sorts of different things. Damage ships, do sneaky stuff, all sorts of fun things. But there are a couple of unique cards in here, like you can get the cutter later on. And if you gain this card here, you're going to be able to place the ship out. And you can do this for die placement too. But if this ship ever takes damage, it's going to just be simply destroyed. And you could also get the gunship here too. You can't repair either of these, but these are 2 different ships you can get out. They have different abilities on here, but as long as they don't have damage on them, you'll be able to use these out on the board for all their fun stuff. So that's one thing to keep in mind with the Mollusk Union. So, in essence, the Bluefin Squadron and the Mollusk Union are going to gain points at the end of every round here, where the smugglers are going to need to work to go to different areas to gain their fame. But overall, that's just the general idea how this game plays and what you're going to be doing. Let's go ahead back up to the table here so I can give you my thoughts on all these different things. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so that was Ahoy. Right off the bat, component quality is amazing for this game. Just like any of the other leader games here, the component quality is top notch. I really love the dual layer boards, nice thick wooden pieces. Everything is just amazing quality. Card quality is great. This is just a phenomenal quality for what you pay for this game. And this is an inexpensive game comparatively to other games with the same amount of depth. This game here is going to be different based on which faction you have. If you're going to be the Bluefins or the Union, you're going to be playing an area control game, but those boards do feel different when you play them. And when you're playing the Smugglers, you're going to be doing a pick up and deliver to win the game. Now, unlike route, where you have a completely different way of gaining points that is completely different than every other player, and you play completely differently too in the game. This game here, you do have some differences between the two and the smugglers, but the overall idea of how you play the game is the same. So this isn't going to be as much overhead to get someone into playing a game than, say, Root or Vast, where you have completely different play styles plus completely different win scenarios in the game. This game here, I think, is going to be more friendly to new players. This is going to be a game, like a entry-level game, into this idea of asymmetric play. And if it can get people into Root, it can get people into Vast. This game here is the game where I can take it and I can explain it in 10 minutes and we can have a lot of fun. And there's a lot of depth to the game and a lot of expansion support too. So you can have different factions that come in, adding to replayability. However, to master any of these factions does take a bit. So if you're going to play the Mollusk Union, you have to get really used to those cards and how to use them appropriately. If you're going to be the Bluefins, you got to be really ruthless on how you control areas and which areas you try to control. If you're the smugglers, you can gain points tons of different ways, from the pickup and delivery and using that board there to gain your rewards, but you're going to have to learn how to negotiate and how to work with the Bluefin and Union players, because if you go and deliver something there, it becomes more valuable to you, and you can use to them, and you can use that as a bargaining chip. And also try to figure out ways that you can try to get people into staying where they're at, so that you can get those sweet bonus points at the end of the game for selecting which islands they would be controlling. That's a really big part of the game too. There's just a lot of depth to this game. And like I said, there's a lot of support for this game. So this is a game you can get into, play, teach new players how to do it, and continue to play it. And they will get the idea of how these work, and then if they jump into Root, they're not going to be so put out by potentially having to learn different factions and then not really understanding how the other factions work and how that other player is doing well or not. That's going to be more like an advanced version of this game. And Root is amazing, and it's sad to see people just not liking it because they're not really used to how the game works or how it was taught. So this is a great game to get them their feet wet into this idea. So overall, I really like this game. I really love Root. I've never actually played Vast, but I'm hopefully going to change that. And I love their other game, Arcs. I play that game frequently, and that game's amazing, but that's not quite in this area. But I will have Ahoy in my collection. I don't put a lot of games into my collection, but this is definitely going in. I think this one has a really good place in my collection. Anytime I have people over and they want to try like an asymmetric game, this is going to be the one we jump to first. And for my younger players, this is definitely the game we're going to go into before I teach them Root. So overall, that's my thoughts on Ahoy. If you like what we do, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. It helps us get more content out and all that fun stuff. But either way, I hope you all have a great day, and thank you for watching.